It's horrific and happening all too often in Hastings, where the number of attacks on sheep has jumped where town meets country.
We had 16 sheep that we put out in our far paddock, came across at the very bottom of this gully paddock, just carnage, all of the sheep. All I saw was bits of sheep, to be fair, and like lots of blood, lots of mud, because it had all been stirred up with them running back and forwards, kind of been trapped. And at first kind of didn't even link it to dogs, didn't know what had happened. It just looked like some crazy explosion of sheep or something, you know. And then we were sort of going through seeing if any were still alive. There was a few that were way past saving, but we had to shoot those on the spot. And then I noticed there was actually a collar caught up in the fence line.
Official results are not yet available, but it is understood in the last 6 months 20 different dog owners have been prosecuted, more than $5,000 in reparations awarded, and a number of dogs destroyed. In the previous year, with 106 complaints for animal attacks and 53 attacks on people, there were no prosecutions.
And the animal control guy just said, hold the line and I'll transfer you to the dog owner, which was kind of in itself a bit intimidating, yeah. So we got put through to him, and he was very sorry about obviously what had happened and offered to come straight down and help. And he came down and helped us find a few survivors that we moved close to the house to keep a close eye because of injuries, but they ultimately had to get shot as well, so we lost all of them in that.
Anyone can legally shoot a dog attacking stock, but most attacks occur under the cover of darkness. The Dog Control Act clearly makes it a local council responsibility. Hastings District Council staffer John Payne says while it's often termed sheep worrying, the reality is much worse.
When I was a farmer back in the day, we had numerous times when we had dogs come onto the property and worry stock, and it's horrific. You know, you really feel for the animals. Some of them are left maimed, and you know, it's terrible. We've had a huge amount of stock worrying, and it's been going on for years and years and years. The only way that we can stop it is by people keeping their dogs under control. You know, if you wake up in the morning and you find your dog on the doorstep, it doesn't mean he's been there all night.
Payne wrote the council's policy on prosecuting owners of attack dogs, a point system establishing a threshold for prosecution and other actions. He says Hastings generally suffered no more attacks than other parts of the country until recently.
There has been a spate of dog attacks last calendar year from about June on that are unusual. There's just been an unusual amount of attacks. It tends to have followed things like lambing season, full moons, and that's the time when the dogs get out and start doing their hunting.
Some dog owners, after an attack, are less than cooperative. The farmer that has suffered the most from dog attacks recently would not appear on camera and asked his name no longer be used because gang associates have been loitering near his home. Winter is the usual time for such attacks, when orchards and vineyards are grazed by sheep. But on Christmas Eve, the farmer suffered his 15th dog attack in 6 months. Council says stopping dog attacks is a serious safety issue, and dog rangers are available 24 hours to help protect the wider community.
Dogs that worry stock tend to have a higher prey drive, and therefore they can be a little bit more responsive to children on bikes and skateboards, fast-moving objects. I know some people say there's no correlation between stock worrying and attacks on people, but I think what it does is it enhances their natural prey drive instincts.
What can the council guide do?
A lot of times when dogs are worrying stock, they're not necessarily aggressive dogs. What they're doing is they're practicing their hunting skills. So it's what they call a predatory behaviour. So often the animals can simply be caught. Or they can try and identify who the dog belongs to. Microchipping has certainly helped.
Without on-the-scene capture, positive identification can be difficult to prove in a court of law. unless your neighbours are the good people of the Havelock North Hills.
I had a call on our house phone about 7:15 in the morning to say that he'd seen 3 dogs attacking sheep in the Brookfields property. Jumped out of bed, got dressed, jumped in my ute and walked around the paddocks to see 6 or 7 sheep in various states, some dead, some severely injured, and thought, well, this isn't good at all. Within about 20 seconds, 2 or 3 other utes turned up, and it seemed that one of them was a guy who'd witnessed the attack, came across one of our other neighbours who had been out rabbit shooting. He'd seen the dogs, and so he jumped in my ute. We went further up and found these 2 dogs by this stage, and I knew they were the dogs we were after because they had congealed blood on their throats. There's no question that they were the dogs. And we found out that the dog that I followed into Reynolds Avenue was known to animal control, and as soon as they knew that I'd followed it to that area, they went and picked it up because they knew where the dog would be. We've also heard that the black Labrador has been seized, if that's the right word, and I think it might have been put down since, but the other staffy is still on the loose.
Hastings District Council says it has scored substantial victories in court, including reparations, but owner education is by far the most effective way of dealing with the problem. Patrick O'Sullivan, Local Focus.